In the bottom left-hand corner, we of course do have the blue Terran. His name is Byun.
Oh, his opponent is a red Zerg, of course, and esports Serral, the Finnish phenom. Oh, we're looking at an Overlord right now.
We love the Overlords. They're just having a grand old time.
It encapsulates both Byun and Serral perfectly.
Yes, the Overlord, the all-seeing eye. Interestingly enough, Blackburn, as I said, a very interesting map to come out first. I was talking with you about this just because, in terms of comfortability, a lot of pro players have been choosing, you know, the light shades, the 2K atmospheres, or not the light shade, but 2K atmospheres, you know, as like their first maps. But Serral went for Blackburn. It's a map that has a lot of playtime on, and he's actually going for what appears to be, I believe that was a 14 or a 15 pool. So you're gonna get those 4 early lings out, gonna try and disrupt the Terran a little bit, and it does look like Byun's just gonna go for your standard racks into the expand. But I'm excited to see what Serral has planned for this map, because we've seen him play it against Maru in one of the most epic TVZs we've seen in the King of Battles finals, where Maru was like lings in his natural, in his main, 12 minutes, and then he came back in a 30-minute game. I don't think Byun has that comeback potential, though, and Serral looks really good on this map.
He does, and it's gonna be interesting to see exactly like you said. I mean, those battles, they are amazing. Byun might be a person who's a bit more aggressive now and again, but he's very careful with his aggression. It feels like he's a player that wants to get aggressive, and then he kind of sometimes just gets into the late game because of that. And perhaps a little bit different from Maru. I feel like Maru is a player that is more willingly going to that late game. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree with that statement, but...
Definitely. Totally agree with that. I mean, Maru is the late game Terran, pretty much. And he's, of course, I mean, currently the best Terran in the world, so we're going to probably draw a lot of comparisons between him and Byun, and just looking at how they handle a series. Not necessarily their play style, because they're very different in how they approach the matchup. But in definitely their execution is where you'll see a lot of the differences, especially considering that Maru has been the one who, you know, to kind of hand Serral defeats the most recently. Yeah. But Byun is a player on this map, and I casted a series of him versus Dark a while ago, and I actually saw Byun do something that was like completely out of character. I knew I was blindsided for it, where he went with a pretty standard Hellion, you know, Banshee opener. And then Byun, of all people, went into Bio Tank Liberator Ghost and went straight late game against Dark and managed to win the game on this map. And I want to see Byun bring that back, because he hasn't been doing it as much. He's still been really focused on like mid-game pressure and TVZs that he's played. But when he played that series against Dark, and this was about a month ago, it looked really good when he did go to the late game.
But it's Liberator Siege Tank Ghost, right?
Yeah.
Is what you said? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great late game composition.
Yeah, I can see that work. Yeah, it sounds like a really cool composition. I would like to see that game. Perhaps maybe I missed it. I feel like I did.
Yeah, it's definitely a situation where Byun does have a lot of versatility that he's kind of brought back to his play. I remember in recent interviews he's talked about how he has been like playing a lot better, and he's been trying to keep up kind of that momentum. Of course, did end up dropping in TSL 8 to Dark in that series in TVZ, but he's been mixing a lot of stuff up. He hasn't just been playing, you know, the standard style that Serral has been able to beat him with so many times, which is, you know, Marine Marauder Medevac, go, pressure all the time. I'm going to try and just out-micro you.
Yeah. Now, looks like Byun is going to try to do a little bit of out-microing here as well, in fact. Just a small drop. Wants to try and grab Overlords, Spore, Creep Tumors, maybe hit up some drone lines here and there wherever they can, but just careful stuff. Even Banelings, right? If you can get close enough to those Banelings right now, they're not quick. Yeah. You could pick 1 or 2 off and then pick up in the medevac again, head on out of that, get some value.
Yeah, I mean, no Baneling speed just yet, of course. Serral has mostly pulled off the gas to get up to this 3 base economy, and yeah, I mean, you know, those initial 6 lings didn't really do anything for Serral, and I think that's kind of a good thing to note here, because right now there's nothing that Serral can really do to the Terran, because you went for the early pool, you committed, I mean, 300 minerals or so to those early lings, and then you weren't ever really able to send them across the map because Byun SCV scouted after his barracks finished and then sent the Reaper across. And so it means that Serral right now is in a spot where he just needs to macro up to get back into a position that he's comfortable with, and Byun has all the lenience in the world to work with this 2-base, to add on a 3rd when he's comfortable with it. I mean, he's already started on 1-1 upgrades before Serral even has, and usually with Ling Bane, those upgrades should be starting right around the same time.
Yeah, his layer is finishing up now, so I guess he could start up on the Baneling speed upgrade at least. Evo Chamber's only now being put down also, so he will be having some difficulties here and there with that upgrade advantage. But I haven't seen any Spire nor Hydralisk Den being put down just quite yet, and he's going for the melee. Could just be the more heavy, quite intense Zergling style mostly, right? We have been seeing that a lot from Zergs.
Definitely. I mean, Liberator did try and siege up, but you have the Spore Crawlers in position. We're just going to be seeing, I mean, mainly Serral sitting back. Has finally started the upgrades of his own, but there's going to be a pretty big gap for Byun, where he's going to have a very strong Marine Mind Ball, you know, with 1-1, with not with combat shields. That upgrade, of course, is a little bit later, but he's going to have that upgrade advantage. And when you're going up against Ling Bane, if you can target fire down the Banelings, which, I mean, Byun can do, of course, didn't have his whole army there, so has to just pick up and get away. But if you can get the Banelings out of the equation, if you can split well enough, if you have that 1-1 advantage, it is pretty massive for these fights. You know, Ling Bane, it's a composition that's supposed to just trade really well in those big team fights or army fights. It's hard to do that when you're down upgrades.
Yeah, for sure. The Baneling's a little bit of an equalizer, but just overall, those Marines shoot things down so much quicker. I'm a bit surprised Serral coming in here with these Banelings seconds before the Baneling speed completes. Maybe underestimating that a little bit there, or thought it would complete. So unfortunately, doesn't get any value there. And it would have been a good time to get some value, because there is a Hellbat push coming in right now. He still has still that many Banelings actually. How many is he making?
I mean, there's only 2 morphing right now for Serral, and does not feel like enough. Now 8 more gonna be produced. But yeah, as you said, this is a really weird off-timing Hellbat push. I mean, Byun had these Hellions alive from the start of the game. He never committed into a mineral line with the Reaper or the Hellions, so he just morphs them into Hellbats, and they're gonna be so annoying for Serral to deal with. Now the Banelings, though, are gonna roll on in. Pickups have to come through, and Byun can just drop down because he's taking a 40 supply lead. The Hellbats are still alive. And I mean, again, this is just how well you can snowball when you are allowed to do whatever you want, and Byun showing some great, I mean, micro here, as well as macro. He's on 3 bases. His 2-2 is started up behind this. So even though he's applying pressure, still making sure he has, you know, the next step to this game plan.
Yeah, this is forcing out a lot of Zerglings, a lot more Banelings out of Serral. Serral's still finding some money to start his 2-2 at a relatively okay time. Around the same period as Byun is, so that upgrade advantage no longer will be carried over for him. Serral doing a good job at splitting those links off so far as well against those Widow Mines. Gotta be careful with those Baneling blunts, and finally finds a good connection with those Banelings there.
Yeah, Serral needed that.
Yeah, he did.
Really did. I mean, he was down. I mean, down supply against the Terran 9 minutes in. It's not a place you want to be, especially when you're working with Ling Bane, which, you know, it's not like Roach Ravager. You're not going to have a super inflated supply, but you should be ahead. You can get a lot of units out. You know, usually you'll have that lead. Serral finds the good connection, is able to get back into at least a better spot as he's working on getting that infestation pit up. You know, of course, sitting at 5 bases comfortably, you know, 70 workers, but that, again, that's to the 72 of Byun, who's been macroing really well. We saw the Baneling run by, didn't get anything done. Byun was extremely ready for that. And so far, this is a game where, as the Terran, you're pretty happy with your position, but of course, you're not going to be able to end the game. So we need to see Byun, I mean, hopefully start to transition this towards the late game. You know, start to get, you know, maybe into tanks, get into Liberators. Definitely Ghosts added on sometime soon, because while, you know, Byun can do magic with Marine Marauder, I don't think he's going to be able to just kill Serral with it right now.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I mean, these Withermines are getting pretty okay shots, so in theory, like, what's the units lost tab? Serral is losing on that margin right there. So yeah, theoretically, if Byun does keep this going and, you know, deny Serral those middle bases, it should be okay. But there is a ticking time bomb a little bit with that Hive, of course, coming in.
We're going to be seeing, I mean, adrenal glands, and most likely, I mean, if there was ever a game to go Ultralisks, this feels like it, you know? We don't often say that. Everyone knows Ultralisks, they're not the best. But when you're defending as much as Serral is, and when you're down to supply, this actually feels like a great spot for Ultras, because they are a great defensive unit. They trade very well against Bio when it's on creep, and right now you know that Byun is just on Marine Marauder. I mean, Serral should know with how much Byun is pushing, there's not really a transition coming through, or else you would see those units with the army.
Yep.
And so this feels like the game for it, as Serral is still, you know, managing to equal out this supply, but the main worry is that right now you have Byun fully mining off a gold base, just pumping, I mean, 8 Marines and 3 Marauders at a time. He's, you know, sitting on the 8 racks, and there's not a lot that Serral can do to counterattack until, seems like right now, but pulls back with that Ling Bane Force, doesn't want to commit across the map.
I think you just kind of want to bide for time now as Serral. You're getting closer to Adrenal Glands, you're getting closer to potentially Ultralisk is what I think he wants to get to. Maybe he wants to get some Vipers out. Vipers wouldn't be that great. There's already 4 Marauders at a time being created, so, you know, Byun's not going to be incredibly just ruined as soon as there are anything Ultralisk related on the field, but as you said, oh, well, Serral just kind of taps out there.
Yeah.
Was losing quite a lot of boys.
And I definitely don't think we're going to see the early pool again from Serral. I think that is...
Yeah.
He's already going to phase that out. If you know that Byun is the type of player to send the SCV after the Rax finishes, really that completely negates any damage that you're going to get, because the SCV will see, I mean, any amount of Zerglings moving out before they need to. And we do have Byun actually mixing it up, as he is going to do an in-base 2 Rax, and I assume this is going to be Reaper, which is something that he's been doing a little bit recently in his TVZs. He's said that this is a build that he actually just really likes for that early map control, that he's comfortable with the transition with. Oh, Byun. Oh, wait, never mind. Never mind, it's 3 Rax.
3 Rax, there's a single guess there. It's gonna be Reapers. This is a lot of fun. Sometimes, you know, there's some talk about Byun's that it feels like he just randomizes how he plays a little bit enough, and occasionally on certain days it doesn't matter how he starts, it's always going to be the best opening imaginable in what's happening here. I don't know if that's going to be the case here. It's been a while since I've seen Reaper attempts like this. Especially on the high ground, right? You don't even have them on the low ground here to like open up the back door, or well, your own secondary base and get a quick second base going. But
yeah, I mean, the thing about it is for Byun is that, of course, we know that Byun's micro is very, very good with Reapers, and so with the Queen's not out yet, and you have the first Reaper coming across, this seems normal. First Reaper, I don't think Serral thinks anything of it, but he's gonna see the second Reaper, and then the third, and then there's gonna see 3 more after that. And that should start to ring some alarm bells in Serral's. And I think what you need to do, I mean, you have the Queens out, but against 5 to 6 Reapers, no, usually the Queens aren't going to be enough. So you need to get that, at least a Spine Crawler for safety, I'd imagine. Unless Byun really messes up his KDA charges, which I don't imagine him doing. And you already see chip damage onto these Queens. The Reaper isn't going to go down, and that Queen's below half. And this is already a great start for a 3 Rax Reaper.
Yep.
And I mean, Byun should, I imagine, be preparing to take an expansion behind this.
Serral also delaying the harvesting of Vespene gas for a little bit here, so he's just to get a couple more minerals out. Might cause him some troubles if that speed doesn't really finish up anytime soon. Like, I mean, it's not even halfway done yet, and look at the amount of Reapers that are here. Serral needs to have something quick that can answer this problem.
Yeah, Lings are going to be brought up. There's another Queen out, but the 2 are so low, and these Reapers can just heal up. More Lings are going to have to be produced. And of course, that metabolic boost does kind of mark the end of where these Reapers can really be efficient. is when that metabolic boost finishes, but all the queens are getting low. There should be another transfusion ready for that one, but they're all so low. Queen might go down, but Serral pulls it back.
Oh,
Beyond, I mean, hitting them.
Speed, finally,
there we go.
10 seconds.
Byun
like
gets a
knows.
queen. Byun knows his timing. He knows the timing. But honestly, there's enough Reapers right now that they can actually just fight the Zerglings. Especially if Byun does manage to get the KDA charges out, but more Zerglings coming to fight. And with 3 bases now finished, these Reapers, I mean, all the KDA charges are so good, but I don't think they're good enough. The Reapers are going to get cleaned up. And Serral, I mean, he had 4 queens in, like, all in the red hit points. And somehow manages to lose none of them, pulls them back perfectly. And now, I mean, Byun has to pull back, is adding on an immediate 3rd Rax behind this, which I love as an answer.
He was fighting against Byun with 14 Reapers in total made this game, and he didn't lose a single drone. He didn't lose a single drone. That's pretty good. He did lose a lot of other stuff. We're not going to mention that for now. It's okay. There is an open door in Byun's natural, right? And Serral is very aware of this. I'm not sure if he's going to try to do something here. And I don't think he really has to, right? He's on an okay economy. He has his 3rd base up. Yeah, he could just drone up right now. What can Byun really do in this situation? You know, he doesn't have a follow-up all that much.
Yeah. When you commit, as you said, 14 Reapers, the resources lost is pretty bad. 500 gas, 500 minerals, of course, going down the drain. It's pretty much evens out the 26 or so lings that Serral ended up losing. And for Byun, it is going to be a, you know, this kind of 3 Rax follow-up, getting a stim, a bunch of Marines. Will be looking to get Widow Mines, and luckily for him, Serral, you know, he kind of read this correctly. If Byun was playing against a player like Dark or like Rogue, I feel like those are Zergs that would not hesitate to just pull the trigger, you know, put a Roach Warren, run across the map and try and kill you after they hold it. But Serral is the type of player who says, all right, I'll just macro up. You know, I defended that well. I'm comfortable, so I'm just going to play the macro game. And so Byun immediately put down the 3rd CC. So he's not actually going to be, like, extremely far behind economy-wise. You know, it's still going to be quite bad for him because Serral's, you know, on 57 workers, is going to be fully saturating the 3rd and getting a 4th up. But it's not as bad of a situation as I think he could be in.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, that 3rd CC, of course, for the Terran, a little bit of a gamble. If, as you said, Dark, Rogue, they like to put on a lot of pressure right at that moment in time. Could have proven too much for Byun in a situation like this, but yeah, Serral, the casual man he is, he likes to go into the macro. He likes to prove to you, like, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't come down to me just attacking you at an opportunistic time. It's just because I'm better than you the entire game through.
Blaine's going to stop this Overseer from going down. And right now you do have that 3rd base should be being placed on location. And interestingly enough, looks like Byun is going to be running back this kind of off-timing Hellbat attack that he did earlier, where it's going to be, you know, the 4 Hellbats with the Stim Marines. But he also has the Reapers with it now, and this could be very interesting.
He could bounce stuff, man. He could bounce some crazy stuff here. He is Byun after all.
He gets some good KDA charges. This could be very, very interesting. Not showing, of course, that he has the Hellbats, but look at Serral already setting up the surround, and Byun just doesn't want to commit on in. And I think, you know, it's a hard call to make. You either commit on in and hope you can out micro Serral, who just has more than you, or you pull back and try and macro up. And I don't think either option is really all that good.
Serral, though, I don't know how exactly he realized, but he droned as that line of units was on the front line. He made some drones there. That man, he's got some real balls on him. I like it. I like it, especially because Byun, right? I guess he kind of formulated in his head, he shouldn't have that much. He went 3 CC. Like, what kind of attack could really come at me? He's probably just trying to make me have to make units, right? Or feel like I have to. Yeah. And he read that situation incredibly well. It's just gonna stay on course.
Yeah, I mean, all Zergs kind of have that timing of, all right, when can I drone? When do I need my production to come through for the timing? And Serral did that well. He added on, you know, 40 or so lings when he right around the 7-minute bar, and then he knew pretty much, hey, I have enough to defend this if you push in. And so I'm just going to drone up. And again, he's on 80 workers right now to 68 and beyond. Serral's in a great spot. He's expanding to 5 bases, Infestation Pit, Hydralisk Den. just really getting into the spot that every Zerg dreams of against a Terran, where, you know, you're ahead 2 bases, you're getting your upgrades ahead of them. I mean, 2-2's on the way before the 1-1 is even done of Byun. The only thing I can really say that Byun has going for him is that he's already preparing tanks, which is, you know, good. But even then, you know, there's no... The 4th on for Byun is going to be so delayed, and Serral can just play the style that Serral likes to do, where he says, all right, I'm going to constantly run my units into you until you die, and there's no way that you trade more efficiently than me because I just have more stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a style of Zerg now, becoming more popular after Rogue really showing the power of it, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if Serral's gonna go down there. I would love to see it, you know. I think it's a very cool style for Zerg to play. It always feels like this is the way, you know, when Blizzard came up with the idea of Zerg, that's how it's supposed to be, right? Just wave after wave of tiny little boys coming at you. And as you're trying to defend, you're just panicking all around, going everywhere. Trying to hang on.
As Serral will be approaching maxed out, so this is about the timing that the Zerg is going to be looking for as well. I'm maxed out. I want to get into lurkers eventually, but I'm just working with Ling Bane. So what is Serral going to try and do? You know, obviously the options are, you know, mass it up and try and hit from 3 angles, which you absolutely can do on Berlingrad. You know, the nice thing for Zerg about this map is that you have 3 attack paths into those bases. You know, into the 3rd base if you do decide to go for a massive surround. Serral, it seems, I mean, just pretty much more likely that he is going to sit back. He's going to defend any pressure that Byun wants to apply, and also look for these counterattacks. And especially with the 4th base coming up, that can be very potent because Byun will have to spread out his units a bit more. And with adrenal glands, you know, lurkers, you're gonna need this tank spread. But Byun's on top of it. 2 tanks at a time already, +2 for his tanks. Yeah, as I said, the one thing that you can count on with Serral is that he's gonna play macro. And Byun is absolutely playing into that. I mean, Byun, he skipped Widow Mines. You know? He's immediately adding on 3 CCs.
Yeah.
When you're facing a maxed out Zerg at 165 supply, like, he's completely reading how Serral wants to do this, but we're going to finally see that attack come on through. Baneling's rolling on, and you do still have these Hellbats available, but Byun is not going to be able to pull them forward so far. I mean, not the best fight for Serral, but again, any trades are good trades for the Zerg at this time. Yeah,
I think he just wants the CC here, right? Like, I mean, keep him down on 3 bases, and just whatever you don't want to lose, you pull back, and it's like, all right, fine, what you gonna do? Back to 3 bases, boys, sit down. Yeah. And he just doesn't attack into this. One good way to lose this, right? One good way to lose against the Terran is by pushing into him when he's super entrenched. This is a super entrenched position here on this map. It's very difficult to push into. So yeah, either you take the entire map and just keep running Zerglings and Banelings in, or, you know, as Serral, you sit back, get the entire map, and just wait for your opponent to try and expand. When he does, in you go. You start moving in, slap him down, get back, back inside, boy.
Yeah. And this
Quarantine ain't over yet for you.
And that, again, you know, even though that wasn't the best trade for Serral, when you're maxed out, you know, when you're sitting on so many hatcheries right now, 6 hatcheries, I mean, expanding to the entirety of the map, you can just take bad trades. You can constantly run into these units because you know that you have the ability to. And now Vipers are out, and, I mean, sure, Byun has Ghosts, but unless you're on top of those EMPs, you're going to get at least 1 or 2 abducts, and... I mean, Byun right now, he needs tanks, and he has a few of them. Good EMP. Does get the first Viper. There's still 1 alive, and I don't know if the Ghosts are going to be able to EMP in time, especially with those Banelings going down onto the Ghost. Serral just running in. Again, it's not the best fight here. But the tanks are still alive, but the Blinding Cloud goes down, and now the supply is going to plummet. Byun's just going to drop down, and, well, GG, Serral. A commanding game, too. As in the bottom left-hand corner for Shopify Rebellion, it's tied up 1-1 against him. It is going to be, of course, Byun.
Up right side, that's the red Serral. And Esports Finnish Phenom. Serral. Okay, no.
Yeah, he got it.
I tried to see if he would zoom in again. Sorry, Snoopy, I'm messing with you.
We just say the name again. It's Byun!
Byun!
But yeah, I mean, Serral, Obviously,
Snoopy.
yeah, lovely for everyone watching. Our wonderful observer Snoopy, for all a lot of our big events does the observing, and in this case doing the streaming. So obviously a lot of love towards him. We appreciate it because, as we all know from doing our own replay casting, observing and casting at the same time is very hard.
Sure. Yeah, it takes a bit, especially if you want to have some clean camera movement. Yeah. Instead of just like, oh, what's this? Oh, what's this? Oh, what's... and just zoom across the map. I know some pro players. Yeah, some pro players, they really enjoy that, that type of observing, so you get to see everything. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. I still like the cinematic feel, like on a shot, and then you follow a unit, and then you slowly zoom out, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's so difficult.
For the average viewer, yeah. It's much better. It looks a lot better. And you can still catch everything if you're being a little bit slower. But
yeah.
I definitely remember watching the Stay at Home Story Cup where Rainer was observing. We just saw the camera boom across the map. And everyone was like, okay, this is what's happening now.
As if he's playing, it's just like this.
Yeah. He's like, oh, look at all these things going on.
Yeah, if you're observing yourself, you always gotta realize like people are gonna have a harder time adjusting to the camera change, because a camera change is coming up. For other people, it's like, oh, a camera change. So it takes like 1 or 2 extra seconds before they, adjust to like we're watching something new.
Yeah. I mean, and also just goes to show how quick these pro players are at reading what's on the screen. It's honestly insane. When you look at first-person views, I know like Winter would do like first-person POV casts of pro gamers a lot, and when you look at like a Serral or a Maru, there's so many times where they'll flip to a screen because they like looked at it on the mini map and they know what they need to do, so they'll just flip to the screen, do it, boom, back to macroing. It's like, oh, I need to macro. I'll do that on my, I'll do that completely on my mini bar, and then it's like, oh, here's a counterattack. Okay, back to the main fight. It's really awesome, and I think we've gotten to see plenty of that, especially in game 1 with how Byun was, managing counterattacks. Obviously, I think his micro is definitely, still very good and can bring these games to Serral. And for the first time, we are seeing 2 completely standard openers. So no cheeky stuff, no 3-rack Reapers, no 14 pools. It's just going to be, Hellions out of Byun, the early 3rd CC. This is the build that Clem really likes to do, especially if we see the Banshee follow-up. And so, on Hardwire, it looks like we're going to have our first, real look at how these players do when they're completely even, off the bat.
Mm-hmm. They wanted to do a best of 5 initially, and decided let's make the first 2. I'll make the first game weird, you make the second game weird, and then we'll meet in game 3.
I mean, I almost have to imagine that they picked those maps for those builds and then they backfired.
Probably.
Sarah's
that's so disappointing to me.
Blackburn, I'm gonna go 14 pool and try and get off to a good start, and then he gets crushed. And then Byun's like, ooh, I'm gonna pick Berlingrad to go for the 3 racks, and then it gets completely crushed. And so now they're both like, okay, let's macro regularly. We don't want to take any more risks.
Never mind. Never mind all that fun strategy stuff.
Let's just play standard, as we do
still
have
got some cool stuff. There's a Liberator for Byun here involved, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, usually you'll see a Viking, maybe, if you're going with something off. No add-on, but Liberator.
Banshees, right?
Yeah,
and pretty much anything but Liberators. You see battle cruisers more often than Liberator, at least in this stage of the game, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. So
what were you saying?
I was going to say, we'll see how much damage it can get done, because, of course, the thing about the Liberator is 1 Queen and a Spore Crawler positioned well does just counter it, and Serral has really good Overlord spread, so you see there already 2 Queens just ready to push it back. And it's not the best at clearing Overlords. The anti-air, if you have 6 Liberators, good against a Mutaflock. Great against a Mutaflock. Against Overlords, as you can see here.
Imagine if this was 10 Overlords stacked on top of each other, right?
So much
Imagine.
Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to bring Liberty to that Overlord. It will just have to run away back to the Queens. And we are going to be seeing Roach Warren coming down here at a decent timing for Serral. So I have to imagine he's planning to go into Roaches on Hardwire, which is an interesting map for it. I've seen a few Zergs play around with Roach attacks on this map. I've seen a Laser especially. Has prepared Roach timings, especially in King of Battles. He actually prepared a Roach timing on Hardwire for Maru, which he ended up using against Bunny, surprisingly enough, and it worked. So we might see that as you do have ranged attacks on Carapace. So yeah, it's gonna be roaches, and we don't often get to see Serral, I feel like, go Roach Ravager.
Yeah, you're right. I hardly ever, I want to say. I think I kind of saw him mess around with it a little bit when Dark kind of introduced the idea to go roaches and then into the lurkers from there quite quickly with the heavy upgrades. But yeah, it still feels like he favors the Ling Baneling here. Maybe it's something he saw on the opposite side. I mean, he's just playing against mostly Marines here, so that's not the reason.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll see.
I imagine it's just stylistic. Hardwire is a map where there's a lot of pathways, so you can actually get surrounds. You can find quite good spreads. There's a lot of open areas. So Roach Ravager is not that bad. It's, you know, you can attack in with it. And I have to imagine that's what Serral is preparing. The fourth base, of course, is coming down. You have roaches being produced to help defend against this little push out from Byun. Just going to be, I mean, your standard 1-1 timing attack, stim combat shields. You know, for Byun, it doesn't get any more standard than this. Really, this is, if you guys want, and I say this a lot when I'm like casting Cure games, because Cure is kind of like the benchmark of just standard Terran. But if you want good time, like a good timing attack, this from Byun is actually pretty decent. I mean, you have Hellbats with this. Again, Byun, I don't know what's with it, but he loves his Hellbats. But it's stim combat shields +1/+1. Pushing into roaches, it's, you know, not the best, but the focus fire onto the queens can be very good. Look at the queens just fall down. Unfortunately, the roach DPS isn't really fast enough to stop this from happening. So Byun just picks on up. He's going to go on into the main. Roaches are already there. I mean, getting that many queens is already pretty nice, but...
How many was that? 6?
Yeah, I think, yeah, 6 queens go down, and Byun's going to keep the pressure on Serral. It does look like he's preparing for this timing attack. As I said, this is what it's going to be. You know, +1/+1 Roach Ravager. You're looking to push across the map and, you know, commit in to kill your opponent. It's very, very potent. I've seen a laser do it before. I don't know if Byun's quite prepared, but he has to be, because he sees no drones on this fourth base.
He is not really making any bunkers or anything of the sorts. Now, he is spending a lot of money still on the extra barracks that are coming up. Command Center will have to get cancelled. I mean, he's got Liberators and Widowmines on the way. Like, 2 units that are both pretty remarkably horrible against the Ravager.
Yeah, I mean, this is, yeah, the third CC has to lift off immediately. The Corrosive Bile onto the first Widowmine. Ooh, I mean, Widowmine shots are decent, surprisingly. But again, already getting the CC lift off for Serral is so good right now. And yeah, Byun just wasn't really ready for this. Usually, if you have 3-4 tanks out at this time, you know, if you cut the Widowmine production and you have 3 to 4 siege tanks, you can hold this. With a bunker, you can hold this, but Byun was not ready. The Liberators are, of course, good. And the Bio can stim in, and you can see, you know, Bio trades good against roaches still. But it's hard because you do still have Serral's, you know, sitting at 4 base, and he's going to continue just pumping roaches across the map.
Yeah, I feel like if Byun manages to kind of make sure that he has an engagement that favors him, so like there's a bit of a choke, the Liberators, the Widowmines are set up, and his units are stimming in time, then I feel like he should be okay, although this is a lot of roaches. This is a lot of roaches walking in. Oh, dear Lord, how wrong I was. Oh, my.
There's not enough splash damage. You need tanks against this push. You know, it's one that I don't think Byun has seen. Again, it's a push that not a lot of players do, but you need tanks against it. I mean, this is the kind of build that killed Maru so many times when Rogue played it. GG's going to be called. Serral's going to take game number 2. Or 3. Yes.
Yeah.
Are they flippers or are they wings on the drones?
If they are wings, I refuse to believe it. All right. Flippers, just a much more fun word to say, first and foremost.
That's true.
Secondly, well, if they were wings, they would be able to jump off a high ground, right?
That is true.
And they would just hover down.
Yeah, but drones, I mean, drones technically float. If you look at them, they are floating. They're keeping themselves in the air with these little things. I don't see any legs beneath there, unless they have like, you know, unless they're like little millipedes and they have like thousands of little legs right below their body that they use to scurry along.
Might be
the case.
Just
Maybe
more flippers, I say.
Well, you actually can't see beneath their models. There's more little like flippers that they use to actually just like roll along the ground to kind of like wiggle themselves. I've never actually thought about the logic of how Zerg units move. Drones are definitely the weirdest one.
They are. I also think about overlords sometimes. Like, how do they move? They have this gas coming out, so are they just like... I don't want to say it, but, you know...
They're constantly expelling gas.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And this is making them move forwards, right? This is why they're so slow?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
If you think about it from a biological standpoint, it makes no sense, but... Hey, it works, you know? In the lore, I'm going to get into the lore here. Overlords are massive. They are huge. And so it makes sense.
Think of that smell. Jeez. Oh my.
Listen, they're meant to go through space. That's what overlords do. They fly through space. That's how big they are. All right? So it makes sense that they... Does it make sense? If they had just gas, like... Okay, listen, Reaper Micro's going down. I want to go into this. Would they not just get crushed if they flew through space because they're just full of gas?
Just full of... No, they shouldn't be, right? If they have enough, whatchamacallit, they not isolated, they, you know, they took out the, whatever you call it. What spaceships do, you know?
Okay, yeah.
Just spaceships do things.
There's enough internal
Overlords
pressure.
do the things too.
Yeah, there's enough internal pressure that they don't...
What a great talk.
Yeah,
Two
we figured it out.
Engineers here together.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
This is our specialty. Talking about...
You see, now it works on the regular physics level, but what about quantum physics, FireBird, I ask you?
Well, listen, for that we'll need to apply the theorem. You know, the theorem. But enough about how Zerg units work, because honestly that's a mystery that we'll probably never be able to solve. Why are queens green? We don't know. They're green. It looks like Byun is going for a completely standard opener. Never mind. Kozan.
No, back to those Hellbats, man. The Hellbats, it's just what he likes to do right now. It seems like
fourth time in a row.
Yeah, exactly.
Hellbats.
I mean, they're a bit different this time, right? He's gonna arrive a little bit earlier. It's a bit more of a common Hellbat timing here. There's no third base involved just quite yet, but is it gonna work? Is it gonna work?
Well, you
there's 10 links, only 10 links. There's no Baning Nest. There's no Baning Nest either. This could be good. Yeah. This could be good.
I mean, here's the thing. Byun has been like prepping Serral for the 7-minute Hellbat timing attack this entire series, and now he's going for a regular one. I don't know if Serral's gonna be ready. You know, Serral, he's been primed.
That's a lot of queens.
That is a lot of queens.
That is a lot of queens.
Hellbats, they morph, and then they just waddle away. They decide they don't want any of that. There's too many queens.
Yeah.
And we once again see that Hellbat timing attacks that hit before 5 minutes are just not that good.
They're not that great. Well, you know, it's also a problem of transforming them as all the queens are already in a perfect, like, shooting gallery line there to just gun them down, right? He lost one of them, and the other one got to 1 HP before they did anything, right? That's abysmal. But yeah, still, like, even then, it wasn't that much firepower. Otherwise, he would have had. Maybe he would have gotten like 2 or maybe 3 volleys off extra, but right now, I don't think they got a single volley off actually. The Hellbats.
Yeah, no, they did not even. They did not even attack, and I mean, of course, you know. I think this is a thing that Byun also does do when he's just like, when he doesn't want to show too many builds, Byun does this. And obviously, you know, with IEM coming up, you know, with DreamHack Last Chance coming up, of course, you're not going to want to go all gung-ho, you know, for this.
Yeah.
For all your builds. So Byun will just be rocking with the Hellbat timing attacks. But so far, I would say even more so than the other ones, this has been a remarkable failure. But now you have 2 cloaked banshees. This is Byun really. I mean, there's already an overseer. That's not gonna get anything done.
Those banelings may need to spread out those Hellbats. Byun. Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Get it. Spread out. Bit more. Bit more. No time to be lazy now. He's gonna. Okay, there we go.
That has to be weirdest exchange I've ever seen, where both players' micro options are actually to do nothing and just to walk
just keep
forward.
moving. Oh, this is fun. We'll just keep moving. Sir, any other commands? No, just move forwards. That's fine.
Any other comments about this game? No, we're just gonna do this. This exchange is gonna go on for 2 minutes or so. This Hellbat exchange.
You just run around the middle of the map in circles.
But, I mean, looking at the rest of this, obviously you have to say Serral, great spot. The Hellbat time attack doesn't get much damage done. He's already working on a macro hatch. I mean, 13 drones immediately into that production tab. And so for Byun, well, I mean, I don't know what Byun's really the plan is here. Again, the Hellbat time attacks, they're not working. And the only game he won was when Serral was behind right off the bat.
Yeah. Like, the things that I like to see Byun try to do right now is like the two-pronged attacks, right? Just try to get two little groups of army together. It doesn't matter if they can't, you know, do anything against the Zerg army. You just want to try to find weak spots. You want to try to find those little places, like, for example, that base that just got cancelled by the two Banshees. Wonderful stuff, right? That's good stuff right there. And if he had another army on the top side, maybe perhaps on that fourth base at the 3 o'clock, there's nothing here. You see, if you have just one medevac with Marines there, yeah, just try to hit him on multiple angles and run away whenever the Zerg is coming. Of course, you gotta be wary for counterattacks then as well. But what else are you gonna do? You can't just sit back here for Serral, right? That's for sure.
Yeah, no, you have to try and, you know, get out on the map. You have to try and be active. And definitely that base cancel is the right thing to do. Losing a Banshee is, of course, annoying. You're going to have a lot more ability to kind of apply pressure with just a single one, but even getting a few drone kills here is just very nice. You know, it's not that big of a, you know, drop in the bucket for Serral. He's already at 78 workers, losing 2, you know, 3 or 4. You just rebuild those. It doesn't really cost you all that much. But, yeah, I mean, despite how, you know, little that opening did for him, you know, he did force a lot of units out of Serral, and his third base has really been, you know, hasn't been really disturbed. You know, there's been no attacks coming out from Serral, and he's getting into tanks, getting into +2/+2. So, surprisingly, I think, you know, Byun is, I think, even in a better spot than he was on Berlingrad when he was just allowed to macro up, because they're almost equal on supply. In fact, Byun's ahead.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, the Reaper attack, right? You just entrench yourself in a triple barracks. With this build, at least you still, you know, you have the factory there, you have the starport there, you're already on your way to have a regular game. But I think it's gonna come down to, does Byun manage to stabilize on the fourth base, right? Does he manage to get that fourth base up this time around? Or will Serral once again be able to just continuously deny that? Because that is looking like that is the intent of Serral to me right now.
Yeah. I mean, you asked for double prong pressure. Byun very nicely, kind of just having armies on either side of the map, making sure that Serral.
Yeah, I know what he likes.
and it makes sure that Serral can't really push across the map comfortably, because if he commits all to one side, then the other one's just gonna swing on in. And you know, I just really like how Byun so far is handling this. And as I said, it's about stabilizing that fourth base. And I kind of, you know, my Terran brain thinks of it as, oh, that's a bit of a catch out. You just have to pick up what you can, get on out. But my Terran brain thinks of it like Bio versus Mech in TVZ, or in TVT, where the Mech player, if you get up the fourth base, you're in a great spot. But it's if you can get up the fourth base. And so that's kind of how it is Serral will just have the ability to push in one spot with more, especially if you're playing split map. And you need to have enough static defense and tanks in position to defend that fourth, or else you're really not going to be able to transition into the next stage of the game. And again, I really like how Byun is handling these transitions. You know, he already has double tanks started up. This time his Ghost Academy is actually, you know, very much on time, whereas before, I think his Ghost Academy was just a little bit slow. But now he's going to have Ghosts out before Lurkers are even on the map. He's going to have +1 tanks. You know, he's producing 2 at a time. I wouldn't even mind seeing, because this fourth base has gone up now. You know, tanks are there. The fourth base is up. I wouldn't even mind seeing a third factory added on.
Yeah, I don't think I would either, actually. Maybe I would like it if it had a reactor for Widow Mines as well, because I always think you just have the option to have a couple of extra Widow Mines around is pretty good. There will always be Zerglings in this matchup, right? Every single time. There's no chance you're not going to be up against Zerglings. whether they're in the main fight or they're going to try to run by somewhere. But yeah.
I mean, I love this from Byun. I mean, again, as I said, this is kind of what he showed against Dark earlier, you know, a few months ago, or at least a month ago, is this kind of late game TVT. And I really love seeing him embrace it here on Curious Minds, deciding that this is where he wants to go. 4 CCs going down? Who is this, Maru? Is that who we're watching play? He just builds 4 CCs as soon as he's on 4 bases. Like, okay, yep, no, this is what I'm going to do. I do like this from Serral, though. If you get this base up, then this is actually really big. If that, like, I'm not joking, if that base goes up, there's a big chance that Byun actually does not scout it, because who would take that base?
Yeah, I agree. That is a really good base to take. I mean, there's a lot of command centers going up. He gets rid of the sensor tower. He's immediately placed back down again, but, you know, there you go, there you go. Yeah, any minerals you could take out of that would be wonderful. This Nidus network coming in as an overseer. Probably gonna get shot down. The Nidus Worm not quite ready yet. He got a changeling in. Okay, that did manage to get this.
Wow, yeah, already the SCV pull drop gonna come on the way, Byun on top of it, but
yeah,
you can see Serral is gonna be looking for, I mean, especially as this game goes later, he's gonna be looking for those Nidus Worms into the main, but here we go, Blinding Clouds going down, the Ghost Worm in position. That Planetary Fortress is very dead, but that's a lot of Banelings committed in. I mean, sure you get the base, but here's the thing about late game Terran. Byun has 4 more command centers that he built, and you committed a lot to that. So this is the stage of the game where you will see, you know, this is where it starts to flip, you know. Had that attack happened when the 4th base was just going up, that would have been a good trade. Because Serral obviously in a great economic position. But because Byun has, you know, gotten his extra command centers, because he's, you know, working on building up this army, of course losing the tanks hurts, but it's not really altogether that much of a dip for Byun, because he just floats over a CC, he can rebuild those workers and get that gas back up. Now, the one worry for Byun is you don't really have an ability to expand to a 5th, and you need to do that on this map. This map has 6 bases per half. You need at least 5 to have a fighting chance. Ideally, you get, you know, your 6th base up. And I just don't know if that's going to happen, because you have, I mean, Serral is going to be so aggressive with these Nidus Worms. He has lurkers coming on the way. And a lot of Byun's tanks right now are not at the base which he needs to protect. He only has 2 tanks here. He has like 7 at his 3rd, and that's really not where Serral is going to attack. Tanks are going to start to go down. Serral rolls on in. Ghosts are here. CC lifts off. 10 workers go down, though.
Yeah, as you said, this is a map with 6 bases each. Serral's going up to 8 bases right now. It is rather funny, but yeah, Byun just completely stuck on his own side right here. Once again, Serral been able to grow to this ridiculous size, and I thought maybe it would be difficult. As you said, there's so many command centers around, you just fly them over and recontinue mining, but I still feel like Byun is struggling quite a bit here. Again, he's not maxed out. Serral already with a new bank is gonna come in here once more before Byun is even close to being, well, I'm saying close, but still pretty far removed. A lot more siege tanks here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's where most of the siege tanks are. I mean, he's currently sitting at 12. He had 8 or so at that base, moves him over. So not the best attack there from Serral. You can still afford it, because as you said, you know, he's sitting right now at 7 mining bases. Hasn't started saturating that 8. It's a bit risky to try to, but he has just, you know, a few drones taking away some minerals from that base, being a little bit sneaky. And for Byun, I mean, honestly, I feel like you can just, you know, spare a few bio units, clear that creep, and honestly just build a command center up there, morph it into a planetary, push your tanks forward. You know, just try and do something. You need to do something to dislodge one of these bases, or else Serral is just going to grow to a point that Byun can't really contest unless he takes the greatest trades imaginable. And that's something that even Maru can't do, you know? Even Maru struggles 5 base to 7 on this map.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's kind of a weird thing to see here, how stuck Byun is, right? Such an aggressive player, such a multitasker as well. And then, like, I wonder why he feels like he can't even spare a single medevac worth of units somewhere, right? Okay, there we go. Yeah,
there we go. He's going to get medevac across. Should be able to clean up at least the drones. I think just focus down the hatchery and then pick it on up. And Honestly, it's a decent trade. Of course, 3-3 bio is what he's working with right now. +2 for the tanks is on the way, and I mean, the thing that's going to save Byun in this game right now is those tanks, because the Viper count is not very high. You know, Serral's only sitting at 2 Vipers. This is actually this Ling counterattack. Those Lings were burrowed before and have just been so annoying.
There we go again.
Yeah, but there's only 2 Vipers, and so when you're sitting at 14 going up to 16 tanks, honestly, like, you need, I think, 4 or 6 Vipers to have enough energy, especially if the Ghosts get their EMPs off. You're only going to get an Abductor 2 before they are sniped or they lose all their energy. And so, you know, I think that's going to be the saving grace here for him, is that he has so many tech units in this army. He's getting Liberators, he has Ghosts, he has tanks, and so, you know, if you're not careful here, Serral, it can go badly, but the Lurkers are just burrowing on in. Finally, the scan is going to go down. You see Serral's supply just drops.
Really does, yeah. Those siege tanks, definitely not something you can just run into. And the Ghost there, especially with this army, right? You'll always have some EMP everywhere. So I would love to see some more sensor towers being brought down for, or being brought up for Byun. But then again, he's strapped on cash, so I get why he's being a bit minimalistic with them. But yeah, that would make it so much better, right? Because then you just don't. One thing that could kill him, definitely, was, like you said, those Vipers. If they get a blinding cloud of, that could be the end of the game, right there. If there's too many siege tanks that can't shoot, and he gets on top of you, you're out of there.
Yep. Ooh, I love this. Ghost moving forward, get the snipe on the Lurkers, but Serral is just kind of moving his whole army down here to attack the space. I mean, for Serral, I don't want to see him go into that choke point, because that choke point is just a death. It's just death. If you go in there as the Zerg, you're not going to get a lot of value running into that base. But now, if you go for this opening here, as Serral is doing, this is where there's a bit more lenience. Blinding Cloud goes down, gets 3 of the tanks. I mean, still, the splits are good from Beyond the Planetary Fortress trades. Well, again, any loss here for Byun is still just bad because you have Serral on 7 bases.
How many orbitals does he have? He has 6 of them. Okay, that's a good amount. He's going to be able to hopefully expand up here as well in a little bit. We'll need to wait for the creep to clear, get some creep tumors perhaps. But that shouldn't be a base that is unmatchable for him to take eventually here.
Oh, this is...
wow, the
love
Ghost drop.
I mean, you can't bring queens to deal with it. They just EMP the queens. That was actually a really cool move from Byun. I mean, it's just... I mean, again, anything that Byun can do here is something for him. And he's finally getting personal cloaking. Hasn't really had the, I guess, the money to do that, or just forgot about it. But that's a really big upgrade to have. And he's going to try and take this base, you know, up kind of to the 12 o'clock position. And if he can get this base mining, you know, again, Byun has an army that trades well. 13 tanks. I mean, sure, infestors are on the way, but, you know, as long as these tanks can trade so well, and I love this missile turrets being put down. Oh, you got a burrowed infestor? I got missile turrets.
You know, I think Serral needs to stop trying to push into this. I think he's slowly killing himself, actually, a little bit, even with the 2 extra bases. I mean, he's trading so inefficiently right now.
And again, I love these ghosts. I mean, they are going to get caught out, which is a bit pricey, but you get a really good trade on the Lings. I mean, these tanks doing so much damage from the high ground and are just going to continue to actually get damage. Finally get yoinked away. Yeah. But Byun is now... Byun, I mean, again, he's going to get this 5th base up, and this is massive. Even though Serral still will have that 7th, just getting the additional mining base, you know, getting mules there, it's going to do wonders for Byun's ability to remax and to, you know, when these fights happen, where he's maybe, you know, where they're trading evenly, it's not going to be as terrible for him.
Yep. Yeah, this is a problem. Definitely Serral needs to take out one of these bases, but it's... I'm not sure which one. Yeah, it's like, how? I like that he went to the bottom left side at the moment when Byun is expanding top right, because that, you know, normally you would assume the Terran is going to send his forces there to secure the area, make sure, you know, he can set up the infrastructure and such. So if you hit on the other side at that moment, that, you know, there's an idea or something to be said that should be the less protected area, or less units that are there.
I love this Liberator just being used to make sure the space can't mine, getting larva kills. Honestly, I would would not mind seeing Serral go into Broodlords, but here we go. Ling's rolling on in. There is so much bio. The Ghost getting pulled back. Bailing's still rolling on through, but honestly, I mean, the tanks go down. It drops from, I think, 14 to 9, so you kill 5 tanks. But the Ghosts don't die. Only 1 or 2 Ghosts went down there. Again, I mean, as you said, I mean, these trades, sure, they're better for Serral just because he has the better economy. But with that being said, he is starting to lose money from it. I mean, when he remaxes, his bank is going to be gone.
Look, Serral spends 37,000 almost minerals on attacking so far, and Byun lost 22,000. So, I mean, there's more than 10,000 minerals difference in losses here.
I mean, the thing that's hard for Byun is that this remax is going to be really slow, but if he's allowed to, you know, get maxed again on more tanks, and if he's, you know, if he can protect this 5th base, Serral right now doesn't really have a late game transition. Serral hasn't gone lurkers because he knows the tank count is too high.
Yeah, he's mined out as well on a lot of bases, isn't he?
Yeah, he doesn't have a fire on the way, so he's not going to be going Broodlords, which I think would honestly be, I mean, at least better than this current strategy. Because right now, as it is, Serral needs one. He needs a big fight. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's the move I've been waiting for. We didn't get a shot of it, but Neural Parasite was researched. It's the dark move, where you neural a ghost, EMP all the others, and now those ghosts are out of energy. This is actually how Byun lost his series in TSL to Dark, where he's in a great spot, but then boom, EMP on all the ghosts. But here we go, Serral. He knows that all the tanks aren't here. He's gonna try and move in. Oh, the fungo!
Oh, it came back again. That Infestus really showing their colors there. Wonderful job. That is a really good move. So much more efficient from Serral there. And he takes out a base. That is what he needs to close this game down, I believe. There is still a really good mining base for Byun, and he's still on 74 army supply.
34 workers, though.
Yeah, how many orbitals did we say he had? How many does he have left, really? He has 5 orbitals. That's a good amount of mules.
I think the real worry is that it is just one base for Byun.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, Serral is mining out. Like, if you look at that top right, that base has only got 8 patches left. And I imagine the bottom left is probably not going to be too much better. If Byun can re-expand, of course, to that base. Okay, the bottom left still has plenty. But if Byun can re-expand to that 4th, I mean, there's still a few minerals left there. Again, it's so hard because Byun needed to trade efficiently. There, that was the fight where he needed to trade efficiently. And he wasn't able to. If he had managed to win that, then maybe this game would look completely different. And now Serral has found the army out of position once again. Tanks are going to go down. Abducts on to the Liberators. Byun trying to split back. And I mean, the Banelings are gone. There are still ghosts available, but I just don't think he has enough to protect these bases. There are no planetaries. Serral going to be able to roll on through. And it was just one more engagement that Byun needed. One more fight that he needed to win, and he might have been able to, you know, really win this game. But it was just that one last commit in by Serral that was able to get the damage done.
Yeah, for sure. You got to protect your production line as well, of course, so you got to stick around the middle there. But this is the problem. If you don't have those sensor towers telling you an attack is coming in time, or you're just not aware and you're out of position like this, that's how you lose the game, unfortunately, as Byun not being able to see that coming in. I'm fairly confident in saying if he known that attack would come there, he would have set up differently, right? And that he would crush that. But yeah.
Byun does scan. You have long distance mining though from the base. 73 supplied is all in the army. I don't think it's going to be enough. I mean, hey, these tanks are scary. You have mules going down. And again, I mean, had Byun won that fight, look, Serral's out of money now. This, you know, they would have been probably enough, but as it is, Serral just going to roll on through. You just don't have enough to defend as Byun. Everything will fall, and so close, despite, you know, the bad situation he was in. Almost made it work. Serral,
what a game.
Knows where there's an opening. It's going to go up 3-1. We're on to Glittering Ashes, and this is a larger map. It is also one that I haven't seen a lot of Terrans win on, aside from Maru. But aside from that, in the bottom left-hand corner, needs to win here. He is up against the ropes for Shopify Rebellion. It is Byun.
Sitting high and mighty on his throne right now. Well, about to be. He's already starting to sit down, but he may have to be pulled off again if this doesn't go his way. But it's looking pretty solid for him. The Red Zerg from NC Sports. It's Serral. Let your flippers do the clapping. I want to say something else, but...
Raise your flippers.
Raise your flippers to the sky. That's that Murloc song, right? Just like to pretend like it's just that like as if that is from the Zergs. Talking about Zergs, we all know Murlocs are a type of Zerg unit anyway.
You know, I completely forgot that existed.
Yeah, I am Murloc.
That
one. Yeah, it's great. It's great stuff.
Anyway. So,
raise your flippers to the sky. Yeah, it's good stuff.
As I was saying, though, in that last game, I think one of the hard parts about, especially Curious Minds, is, as I said, only 6 bases per side of the map. And it has it's very small. The rush distance, I think, is 18 seconds. Or something like ridiculously slow like that. Or ridiculously fast. It's a map where that style for Byun does work if you get that 5th base up sooner. If Byun had that 5th base up faster, I think that game looks a lot different. Because he would have had, of course, the money for sensor towers, a whole bunch of what ifs, you know.
Yep.
The Glittering Ashes is another map that, or is a map that, again, is massive. This is, I think, the 2nd largest aside from Pride of Alteris, maybe, or may even be bigger than that one. And so you are sitting at around 9 bases per side of the map. There's a lot of room to grow, and so even if you are in a situation where you're going to be down bases versus the Zerg, you will be able to take more. Naturally, you are just going to be able to get up to around 5 bases as the Terran if it goes late. And that's where you're going to start to get the struggle to hold, where the Zerg is going to start to pressure you, but you'll get up to 5. And so if it does go late, you know, I feel like this is going to be a better map for Byun in that case. But at the same time, of course, it's, you know, a large map. Serral has some of the best, I mean, the best late game. I think a lot of players agree he has the best late game in the world. So it's kind of that push and pull where that late game style, I think, works better on this map because you just can get more bases up. But
yeah,
also
that makes
it's
sense. I guess, you know, if he does manage to secure those locations over and over again, right? It has me a bit worried that there's potentially just more places for Serral to grow. Just because I can see, you know, if you do acquire those bases and you get that efficiency going and you just keep it going like that, yeah, for sure, that's gonna get Byun in a great position. But didn't really feel like he was being able to get anywhere, or in a lot of places like that, you know, or I don't know. I know it's just a bit. I don't want to say inactive, of course, because he's still doing a lot of stuff, but in relationship to how we've seen him play before, right? He's yeah, he's not that aggressive, basically, is what I'm trying to say. I want him to attack continuously everywhere. Give me entertainment.
Okay, so we do have something interesting, though. Serral is going for very early roaches.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
The back of the main, or the back of the naturals, so it's going to be a bit of a mix-up. This is, I mean, sub 4-minute roaches. That was a 3:30 roach warren, or even sooner than that. So it's just going to be the 6th, though, I believe, moving across the map. Oh, sorry, 9, actually. Serral went up to. Bad news, Byun is working on a Liberator. So if Byun is actually, I think he scouted it with the Hellions. I have to imagine, I mean, bring everything home here, just having the Viking out on the map, a Liberator in production, honestly should be able to hold this quite well, and it's a big investment for, oh no, Byun, okay, pulls back. He's gonna be able to see the roaches. It's a big investment for Serral. So you need to get really good
release. Oh boy.
Yeah, you need to get damage done here if you are Serral, but I think the Liberator should be out by now, and that can just siege on up. You're gonna also have a tank ready. And the SCV pull came through. Of course, it is annoying that you had to pull the SCVs, but I don't think Byun should have too much of an issue holding this, you know, as opposed to if he had gone immediately into you know, a medevac or something like that. Although this is actually getting a lot more damage done now that it's been, you know, the command center has been lifted for this long. With the tank out, should just see Byun be able to push down. Yeah, all the roaches are going. Oh wait, Serral, you played this? I don't.
He just doesn't want roaches and ravages anymore, right? They've served their purpose. Oh, thank you. Now just die for me. Peasants. And then,
try and trade efficiently. But again, as I said, Byun, he pulls the SCVs away, so it's not actually that bad. He didn't lose workers there, really. I mean, he lost 7 SCVs. That's considering that he was blindsided, not that bad. But Serral, of course, is just going to be macroing behind this. Spire on the way, metabolic boost, more Lings. He's at, he's at 65 workers. So we're going to see some Lingbane Muta.
Yeah, we haven't really seen Mutalisks so far, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No.
We're pretty empty on it, and kind of makes sense with like Byun going for siege tanks as much. Could come to pay off here for Serral.
Yeah, I mean, you force the siege tanks, and then you go for the Muta transition. It's, you know, it's a strategy as old as time. As the Liberator is just going to siege up the lava, going to make sure it knows that it has been liberated. It is free. Freedom has been brought. But this
you
is
can vote now, drones. Okay.
It's okay, Rocks. Your vote counts. I'll make sure of it. But this is a good map for Mutas, especially. You see Rogue. I think almost always goes a Lingbane Muta on this map. Because it's so large, because there's so much dead space to play around with, it just tends to be a good map for it. And, you know, even Serral making like 100% sure that's not going to be scouted, puts it in the weirdest spot possible so that any harassment won't see it. And you now have 11 Mutalisks on the way. Beyond, I mean, if you get blindsided by this, it can just win the game.
It definitely could, yeah. I mean, the problem is that it's such a continuous problem, right? It's not something that just goes away on its own because you have like a pretty good defensive thing against it, or like it starts losing value over time. No, it's less if you, have the just endless amounts of missile turrets, a Thor maybe somewhere, Widow Mines, that type of stuff. You're just going to be busy. You're going to be so incredibly busy dealing with this, and that on its own can be too much, right? And just win the game overall for the Zerg here. Let's see. Oh boy.
Yeah, here we go. I mean, Byun was microing at the front, so already you're going to see 9 SCVs go down. I mean, they're still going to keep going. Yeah, the main is also open. No missile turrets for Byun. Really does hurt. Finally is going to be building them at the 3rd in the natural. But 14 SCVs immediately go down. That does hurt because Byun, I mean, he was on equal workers with Serral. He wasn't in that bad a spot. You know, the Mutalisks, they are quite the investment. You know, Serral was sitting at 68 workers, but now he's just rebuilt. He's working on Lingbane.
He just supply blocked.
Oh, man.
He was, yeah. He made like 7 overlords at the same time there. Yeah, he got quite heavily. I wonder if he would have attacked there, if he could have, you know, reinforced with Zerglings. He kind of looked like he wanted to.
Yeah, the Ling positioning was looking like it, but
yeah.
I mean, all things considered, again, not the worst. That could have ended the game for sure. If Byun had not responded as well as he did, you know, with pulling the Marines immediately, and had Serral not gone supply blocked, but the Mutalisks are still alive. None of them went down, and that's really going to be the big issue, even with Thor's coming out.
Yeah, it's still a problem, of course, though. He's still making more. He's going up to level 2 air weapons with them as well. We have a single Viking, some missile turrets, and as you said, the Thor now just arriving. So, I mean, 17 Mutalisks with, you know, +1 air weapons, still more than enough to shut down the Thor as well. Still needs to run around with those Marines continuously.
Well, missile turret immediately nuked down. SCVs. Not too many go down immediately. The Marines are being pulled, and you do have a decent missile turret spread.
Oh, 2 Widow Mines there.
Oh, he doesn't so close. Yeah, Serral knows where the Widow Mines are.
Yeah.
He sees that. I mean, he's played Maru. He knows how annoying. He's played Clem. He knows how annoying the Widow Mines can be. So it's always keeping an eye out. But second Thor on the way. And Serral, I mean, behind this, just absolutely just macroing up as much as he wants. I mean, has gone up to 4 bases. That's the 5th and a 6th being taken. And this is, you know, this is where these large maps do kind of hurt as the Terran. Is that the Zerg can just get up a massive economy, and there's not much you can do if you're stuck back in your base.
Yeah, but I think this will be a 4th base that Byun will be able to establish here. Unless if Serral goes for an enormous amount of Banelings. You're not really breaking this with Lingbane Mutalisk, right? You're harassing, you're taking out SCVs here and there. I don't think you really go for the just complete utter destruction, or at least I'm not quite convinced they'll be able to make that work.
Yeah, I mean, Widow Mines are coming out, and against this composition, of course, it is nice that Byun does have, like, you know, Widow Mine and Thor production, has the 2 factories, and it also has a 2-2. So, you know, Byun, this hasn't stopped him from hitting really any of, like, the big timings that he's been looking for. Oh, that's a nice catch. A lot of banelings go down, but despite the fact they lost, you know, quite a few workers, it hasn't stopped him, you know, from hitting his 2-2, from hitting, you know, the Thor and all that. But he said he needs a lot of banelings.
He does, yeah.
That's a lot of banelings.
It goes to 4th base again. It's the story of Fort Beyond this entire series, it feels like. It's the 4th base, just trying to get it and be, you know, being denied.
Yeah, and he's going to try and push out here, and he's in a decent spot, too. I mean, you kill a lot of banelings went down there. You know, you don't want to get that Thor caught out alone. There's so much to work with here for Serral. I mean, he's already rebuilt up to the 57. You need the Widow Mines to be burrowed. You need to get those connections if you even have a hope and a dream of fighting this army. Ooh, retarget, not the best. Splits do come out, but the Widow Mines, I mean, they're just being baited so well.
Already, just that small amount of banelings that was supposed to set up Widow Mines, getting good connections here.
Yeah.
There's just so much. Widow Mines there, not gonna get anything either. The Mutalisk coming in, don't even have the magic books, it looks like. We'll do it later down the line, there we go. But yeah, still enough to take out the Thors there, too.
It wasn't. I thought that was gonna go a lot worse, though, for Byun. He actually split his Marines away really, really well. Got 1 good Widowmine hit onto some banelings, and then the Thors tanked quite a few. So that wasn't the worst that it could have been, but you're still, of course, worried about the fact that this is, you know, a 6-base Zerg. And you now have Ultralisks on the way.
Yep.
Which, I mean, okay. Ultras, when you're ahead, of course, are not the best. You know, Ultras are great at defending. They're not the best at attacking unless you can just, you know, swarm your opponent with, you know, Ultra Ling Bane. Which Serral is kind of at the point that he can do.
Yeah, for sure. I think the Ultralisk, great choice here. Again, right, you, as we said before, you go with the Roaches, forcing out the Siege Tanks, then you have the Mutalisk, forcing out the Widow Mines, and then you go into the Ultralisk. Yeah, great stuff right here.
It's just really well playing around the transitions, Serral, and kind of just knowing what the responses are going to be. And knowing how much vision, especially Byun, has of his actual army composition. And so, what you're rebuilding on really depends on what your opponent is expecting. Now, 3 Widow Mines at a time are actually surprisingly decent against Ultralisks. If the Zerg doesn't split, the Widow Mines can still get a lot of value. And with, I mean, with just how much army Byun has, I mean, 134 army supply, you have to be careful as Serral, especially because you're both sitting at a 2k bank, so this fight, I mean, oh, the banelings, though, rolling on in, splits back, and that's why you have to be careful again. You know, you can't just run in Ultras. As soon as the Zerglings are down, then you know, the Marauders and the +3, especially Marauders now, absolutely shred through them.
You did have continuous plating, but not the speed upgrade, and there was no creep either underneath of any Zerg flippers right there. So, all of them just incredibly slow. We'll have to see. I mean, the army supply now, quite heavily in favor for Byun. He's 130 versus 100, so...
Yeah.
This is now probably the best position has Byun been in the macro state anyway, the past 14 minutes.
3 more CCs on the way. I would like to see that Ghost Academy being placed. I mean, Byun does have the gas for it. He's just going to be trying to make this Marine Marauder mine work out, though, for the time being. And again, we're kind of seeing the issue with Ultras is that if you're not, you know, if you're attacking with them, they're not the best. And here we go, another counterattack coming through those. Oh, Widow Mines, do they burrow in time? Not quite. I mean, the base goes down. But again, I mean, Byun has a bank now. You know, Byun got up. Oh! Lost a few more SDVs than he needs to, but kills a base.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is the struggle of pushing with Ultralisks, is that if you don't have just critical mass over your opponent, the Terrans should be able to trade better. You know, they should just be able to kite it out and to split well enough. And especially if you're fighting in the middle of the map, you know, this can get really, really bad for Serral. I would like to see Byun, though, just get that 5th base. You know, he has 3 CCs. Get up a 5th base, because while it's great that he's trading so well right now, Serral has gone up to, you know, an 8th himself.
Exactly. Yeah, with more still to come, most likely. Another engagement here, potentially. No, Serral reconsidering. Trying to set up the Widow Mines. Will not happen in that case. Very terrifying amount of Marauders here for the amount of Banelings that we're working with in this army composition.
As the Widow Mines do get, I mean, set off. It's still a lot of bio, though, is like the main worry. So as long as Byun splits, and look at the Widow Mine spread back in this like open space where Serral is gonna want to push. Byun actually has just a ton of Widow Mines spread out there already, so he can micro back to them. He can split back to them. It's very, very well done, but you can't really push onto creep. Lingbane Ultra, if you push onto creep, it will surround you and it will absolutely chew through you. As we do have Serral here, Hydralisks are now on the way. I mean, I wouldn't like it if Byun already had his Ghost Academy, but Byun does not have that Ghost Academy, and that's going to be really massive as soon as these lurkers start coming out. I mean, double upgrades. You have 2 lurker dens because Serral has the money for that. There we go. Okay, Ghost Academy coming down.
I think with what Serral's doing as well, like at least in this situation specifically, right? He's going for the lurkers, which is pretty good. But the Marauders, if you have a good amount of them, are still capable of handling those kind of, as long as you don't have too many lurkers, of course. But they're still able to handle those types of situations. Okay, there's Ghost coming in. I have seen him go for Broodlords as well, which is kind of what I'm wondering about right now because of the amount of Widow Mines that are available.
Yeah, that Ling run by is actually shut down pretty well. Yeah, and I don't know if you want to push everything into this spot. We do see Liberators being sieged up, which is, of course, really nice to have. I would like to see, I mean, again, continued, Ghost Liberator tank is just so good for dealing with mass lurkers. As here we go, the lurkers now coming in. Were you ready for the transition? Byun, not quite. Has to pull back as the Banelings roll on through, but the Liberator is getting some pretty decent value. Byun drops in supply, but now has Ghosts already on the way. I think, yeah, should have, I mean, those 4 are just coming out, though. Again, it's just a little bit late, and that's the real worry here, is that the Ghosts are really your counter, to Mass Ultra, to Mass Lurker, to the Vipers are the Ghosts, and he did not have them fast enough.
Yeah, and it's also a thing about Serral had that good bank. He still had a solid worker count, right? Up to 90 almost. Byun's let some of his workers go down in order to have a bigger army supply. Well, that's a dual-edged sword where if you don't, take the winning side of the fight, you're suddenly in a lot of trouble with just a worse economy.
These Widow Mines actually being really, really annoying here. You do have the lurkers being able to clear them out. More Ghosts have been produced. I mean, you can try and snipe forward and snipe the Ultralists, and they do a good job of that. As soon as the Ultralists are out of the equation, you can't really push with lurkers, especially when you don't know how much the Terran actually has. Byun sitting at 56 workers. I mean, I feel like this is the time where you re-worker a little bit. You get some more SCVs up as some nice snipes onto the lurkers. The 3 Ghosts get yoinked over, and for Byun, you're just working with bio here. There's no tanks being added on. There's no Liberators being added on. It's gonna make it, I mean, a lot harder to really do anything with this army.
Yeah, he's more mobile with it, which is what I like. If Serral does get up in his face and he has to defend, it's definitely going to be a big problem there for him. But if he manages to keep Serral kind of on Serral's side of the map, right, and he pokes around the edges, this could work. I think, maybe, hopefully, for Byun. I would like to see it anyway, Yeah,
I mean, we all want another game, so
exactly.
We would like to see it work out here for Byun, as Widow Mines have begun reproduction. Not the wording I was looking for, but for Byun, sitting on 5 bases has been, I mean, again, has been trading very, very well still, and I would like to see him. I think he has the lenience here to get up a 6th base. And again, especially if he had, tanks, if he had a deeper tank line like he did last game. But Byun, as you said, intelligently, he's working with a more mobile army that can respond to the multi-pronged attacks of Serral easier. And especially when Serral's working with a large, Ling Bane Hydra Lurker composition, you do need to be able to move your army around quickly, because if Serral does just kind of commit into one spot and your army isn't there, well, suddenly you just have to give it up. You can't push in.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, and it goes so quickly here because he just doesn't have that many bases. Every base for Byun is just so much more valuable than Serral, who's just gobbling up the entire map, you know? Nidus Worms, 2 of them in the main base here. That could be trouble. I'm not even sure if he plans to use any units there. Sometimes Zerg just throw down Nidus Worms in order to, you know, force units into the main, but it looks like this time there is stuff in there.
Ooh, that's not good. Yeah, only unloaded 3 lurkers, not exactly what you want. As we do have another nice swarm going up. This, of course, just going to be used to help the lurkers get across the map easier for those counterattacks. As more Widow Mines getting set up. The Widow Mines do make it hard for the Zerg to really commit on in to anything. You know, they will trade well, as you see. You know, already, Serral not taking that good of a trade. The Ghost Count's getting decently high. The Ghost Count is already at 16. He's going to be going up to 20. Liberators are now finally being added in. But again, Byun's only on 5 bases, and that's to, right now, the 9. The 9 of Serral.
Neural, actually.
Yeah, he's going to look for the Neural Parasite.
Yeah, but like, what will he try to Neural here? Is it going to be the Ghosts again? Probably, right?
Yeah, that would imagine that's the only thing that really... I mean, that's the only thing of value to Neural right now with this army.
Liberators, maybe?
I don't know about the Liberators. You could try. I don't think
it's a bit more safety for the rest of the spellcasters to come in and the lurkers.
Yeah.
But...
Oh, these ghosts coming a bit too far forward. Yoinks come down. 3 of them go. Nice EMP and good snipes at the end there. Get 2 of them. And we're finally going to see a 6th base for Byun. Finally. After... Oh no, Byun! Wasn't expecting the 3 lurker hit squad on the left side of the map. But we're finally going to see Byun expand, which is, I mean, just so important for him right now because you've been sitting at 5 base for so long. You're going against 9 of Serral, you know, going up to 10. You need more economy as these ghosts. Good cloak.
Serral being pressured here, right? He is being forced backwards. This base is pretty important, but at the same time, look at this. The size of this map is allowing Serral to just make more bases on the left side. This army for Byun. There is still more reinforcements coming in, but he's got to be ever so careful. There's not really a good chance for him to reinforce anymore, but at the same time, if he probes if he probes himself into the liver of Serral here, maybe Serral will not be able to reinforce. He may have a bank, but if you get to kill off every little bit of Zerg coming out of the hatcheries.
I mean, Byun's army is just so big. It's, you know, 99 army supply will finally, you know, drop, and this base is gonna, you know, be forfeit, but that's fine. It's been mined out. You can just move that CC, no problem for Byun. I would like to see him though. He's only at 50 workers. You know, get some saturation on that 6th. You're working on such a low economy. If you're Byun and you're trying to make this power push work, you know, this is kind of the trap that he falls into so often in these games. And oh, the Burrowed Lurker. If this EMP isn't immediate, I mean, it doesn't even matter. The Banelings just roll on through. And Serral still has a bank. Byun, unfortunately, does not.
Yeah. I think Serral's done it, man. I mean, Byun, he's no longer mining, really. He's got 2 bases, somewhat mining. But there's lurker pressure there. Serral... he's going to be able to spend that bank and probably, you know, remax. He's remaxing right now. He's going to be able to remax another time after another fight. And Byun, he's struggling, man. He's down to 90 army supply. Still only 50 workers. But, you know, he doesn't even have that advantage from having low workers and then having more army supply. That's no longer a thing here.
Yeah, I mean, Serral's going to bring his whole army over, and it should be enough to clean up what Byun has. Again, you know, on this map, I love the mobile army. I love the bio being added in, but I feel like Byun, with this composition, just does fall into that trap of, you know, constantly trying to make it work with just micro. And he doesn't really get the economy that he needs. He doesn't turtle up as much as you need to. This is where, you know, this is the stage of the game where you see Maru. This is where he goes up to the tanks. That's what we saw last game from Byun, where it worked so well. And I think it would have worked even better in this situation.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. It's it also comes down to Serral. I think Serral is just a horrible opponent, perhaps, for Byun's playstyle in a way. You know, Serral likes to sit back. He likes to just absorb what you're doing. and then play it safe. If you're turtling on 3 or 4 bases, he's not gonna make the mistake to try and engage that, and then lose his army, allowing you to counter-attack and all that stuff. Great EMP again there. This could be it here, guys. Let's see whether or not Byun will manage to micro himself out of this one. Micro Jackson on the case, but that is a little bit too much Zerg to deal with. Another fungal landing on those medevacs as well, slowing down the retreat. FireBirds. Well, I think he's done it. I think he's done it. It's not saying
GG. Serral will
played.
win our celebratory Alpha X Pro series. Also gets himself a nice little chunk of that prize pool, which I believe goes to both players. I think.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.